so utilitarianism then, your boxes are laid out according to how it looks on the side. So you've got your two boxes at the top with them, the arrows going into the box underneath. This is for the key structure of a beginning of an essay. You need to be aware that the first inspiration for utilitarianism was David Hume. David Hume talked just about what is useful, what in ethics, what you should focus on is what is most useful. So that was the only thing that David Hume said that's relevant to this, that ethics should be based on what is most useful. Francis Hutcheson said the greatest happiness is the greatest number. You need to know that quote. And it was these two views combined that Jeremy Bentham used to make utilitarianism. So you have to be very, very clear. Neither Hume nor Hutcheson were utilitarians. It's the combining of their arguments, it's the joining of their arguments that makes it utilitarianism. So Jeremy Bentham joined them to say that the most useful thing in a moral decision is, or moral dilemma, is happiness. This therefore creates his principle of utility. So as far as your boxes are concerned, David Hume goes on the top, Francis Hutcheson, just so you can remember there's two different views, two different focuses combined to make utilitarianism from Bentham. This is a really good place to start an essay, especially if the focus is on Bentham or utilitarianism. Obviously, specifically on Mill, you might want to tweak it. Also recognise that if any question in your exam talks about the usefulness of utilitarianism, a very good thing to note is that utilitarianism, utility means usefulness. The whole argument is about the useful approach to ethics. So it's a really important link to make if the word utilitarianism and useful come up in your exam. This is an argument that focuses on benefiting all society. He wanted to create an ethical system where society would be benefited. So you remember with situation ethics where Reverend Macquarie said it's not an ethic for society because you can't apply it to you can't apply every individual situation to the whole of society as a moral law. This works for society. The whole aim of this was to help create something for society to benefit from. Moving into the box underneath then, you have his principle of utility. You have to learn it as that. The principle of utility mean principle of usefulness is maximise pleasure, minimise pain. Be very clear, it's pleasure. Bentham is focused on pleasure, on hedonism. Maximise your pleasure, minimise your pain. You then have a quote from him. You don't need to learn the whole of this quote, but it's a nice one. Nature has placed mankind under the governance of two sovereign masters, pleasure and pain. It is for them alone to point out what we ought to do. Basically, we are under the control of two masters, pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain are what controls us. They point towards what we ought to do. So even if you just write down governance of two sovereign masters, pleasure and pain, that's a quote you can remember. An examiner will know it's a quote because they know you won't use words like sovereign master. It's not the sort of language students use. So you are already bringing in that higher level material. It's teleological or consequentialist, however you wish to phrase it. It's concerned with outcomes. Doesn't matter what you do as long as the outcome is pleasure. All of this goes in the same box. There's a little bit else to go in this box, so do try and keep it together if you can. And it is hedonistic. Hedonistic meaning pleasure.